We're continuing through the Gospel of Mark. I think I'll make it to December with the book this heavy. But not everybody's been here, so I'll just catch you up with the story. Some of the Gospels, they start with the birth of Jesus. The Gospel of John starts with that prologue about the Logos that has become flesh, the creative pattern become fleshed in Christ. But Mark, it's all about baptism. Jesus completely surrenders everything. Everything there is. Dives into the waters of baptism and then emerges a transformed new human being. Now, what's really important to know is that this story is not told so we will think Jesus is cool. It's told so that we will follow. Jesus is the prototype. Jesus is the beginning of this story as he calls us into the same surrender, the same transformation. Would you listen as the Spirit brings a word to you? Jesus went out again by the edge of the sea. The whole crowd gathered around him and he taught them. Then as he was walking along, he saw Levi, son of Alphaeus, sitting at the tax booth. And he said to him, "Follow me." And Levi got up and followed him. And as he sat at dinner in Levi's house, many tax collectors and sinners were also sitting with Jesus and his disciples, for there were many people who followed him. When the scribes and the Pharisees saw that he was eating with sinners and tax collectors, they said to his disciple, "Why does he eat with these people, tax collectors and sinners?" And when Jesus heard this, he said to him, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. I've come to call not the righteous, but sinners." The grass withers and the flower fades. The word of God stands forever. He was walking by the edge of the sea, is what the text says. Mark talks about the sea 16 times, as opposed to Luke, which is twice as long and has it 3 times. It's an important thing for Mark, we got it. By the edge of the sea, for the Hebrews, the place of chaos, the place that has all the raw material of creation, but you need to put a creative word on it before something can emerge. It's beautiful, lifelike, whole. The edge of the sea. And the edge of the sea is also, and we've talked about this before, it's the edge where evolution happens. Right? It's where eukaryotic cells were developed. When the plankton were overwhelming the earth with too much oxygen, somehow smothering themselves, they needed to find a way to use oxygen in order to thrive. Beginnings of animal life. Always at the edge. It's at the edges of things that progress and transformation take place. 4 cultures merge into New Orleans, and jazz is born. Is that incredible? You know, they call it the Middle East for a reason. It's in the middle of everything. You know, back in Jesus' time, it was in the middle between East and West. Between the Greco-Roman culture, the Semitic cultures, between those who followed Baal and the Egyptian cultures. And in the midst of that generative edge, Christianity was born. Always the edge brings things forward. We sit on the Pacific Rim. And I'm watching Christian theology change week by week. It's incredible what people believe now. My father's all shook up. All because we're sitting on the edge. Because it's where progress and evolution happen. Your edges too. I know that a lot of people in the congregation are facing what I call a second retirement. You know, you enter your first retirement, you leave your vocation, and then you have all this energy and all this ability. And you're in a place where you can serve and do some exciting things. You know, you're able to contribute to society in a way that you hadn't been able to when you had to work every day. But there does come a time when that energy wanes. There comes a time when the body gives way and you can't drive anymore, God forbid. when we don't have any way to hear all that well, when our energy just doesn't carry us the way it used to, a second retirement, it's an edge. Brought to the edge of a deep and profound change as we are facing that final edge of death. When we lose somebody deeply close, and the grief just pulls us down, we are called to the edge of the sea, because it's a place of wounding, a place of wounding. We come to a spiritual edge when we wonder if the presence of God is anywhere near us. It's in those moments on the edge that progress happens, where we are able to move forward. It's the nature of things at the edge of the sea. Because as we're wounded, generative power starts to surge within any situation, and the power of God that drives evolution forward, drives progress, drives growth forward, begins to emerge in you. In you. It's not a myth. It's not something that just happened to Jesus. It's something that happens to all of us when we meet at the edge, that place of wounding, where, as Rumi put it, when you open your mouth and the grain of sand comes in, a pearl seems to appear. A place where you go out and look for fire and you find what's burning inside the sunrise. And Jesus entered that place when he dove down into the waters of baptism, and he emerged whole and new. And it is Jesus from that spot who calls to you at the edge and says, "Follow me." No, thank you. You know what he's asking me to follow towards? A few chapters later, he really gets to the point. He says, "Follow me." Oh, that's right. "Pick up your cross and follow me." He meant it. He meant we give over our entire life to the presence of God's next. And to tell you the truth, it's something we resist. We resist all the little deaths, and we resist that final death as well. Because it makes us afraid. New music? But I like the old music. I wonder how many people said that in New Orleans. New music? What's going on here? Well, I know for a fact some people were a little resistant to Jesus and his new ideas, to the Apostle Paul and his new ideas. We like the comfort of what's back. We like that comfort. We like to sit where we know we need to sit. Some of us have fought long and hard for the faith or the understanding of God that we have, and we like to stay in that place, wherever it is. It makes us afraid. And sometimes we feel as though we're going to be swallowed up by the deterioration of our bodies, by the grief we feel, by a job loss. We feel like we're going to be swallowed up, and to treat it as an edge, as a place that could take us into something more beautiful, it seems a little out of our grasp. Nevertheless, Jesus says, "Follow me." And we say to ourselves, "But there's not enough of me. I can't do that. I'm not enough." Pick one of those holy people. Somebody who's sat on the mountain for some time and understands what God is all about. Pick one of those. Not enough. That's not what Jesus did, though. Jesus walked along and picked the tax collector. We're talking lowest of the low. Right? He picked tax collectors. He picked the uneducated poor. He picked the people that were down, not up. The people that were sick, not healthy, supposedly. You are enough. You are enough. The thing is, that vulnerable moment, that place where you are called to sit on the edge and move into a new reality, it takes some real courage to stay there and let the presence of God unfold within you. It takes courage. You need to be vulnerable. Brené Brown's talking a lot about vulnerability. I don't know if you know, this is the most popular TED Talk out there. If you don't know what the TED Talk is, that's okay. I'm going to show it on Wednesday night in a week or two. When am I doing that? So, In any case, she talks a lot about vulnerability as the only way that we can develop and move forward, the only way we can get unstuck. And she kind of balances it against weakness, vulnerability, weakness. If you're vulnerable, it means you have the capacity to be wounded. And if you are weak, you do not. Vulnerable, capacity to be wounded so that something new can emerge, so the pearl of great price can be found in you. I love that. So that you can find what's burning in the sunset. But that takes an enormous amount of courage, does it not? It takes courage to stay in that place, and I myself contract more often than not. So how is it that we develop this courage? How is it that we find a way to sit ourselves down at the edge of the sea so that the presence of God can work upon us? And the only way I know is for us to sit in the presence of Spirit, for us to be touched by God. Now, there are lots of ways for that to happen. It is happening right now when we look at one another. You know the presence of God when you look into somebody's face and their love just explodes around you. I've told most of you the story that as my brother-in-law had died last July, my second cousin opened his home to me, my wife, Jana, and another dozen relatives. It was incredible. And that was a moment to meet God. And then last night, for the first time since Tom died, we went back. We brought him dinner. We brought him a little booklet of gifts for 12 months, a date a month for a year, to thank them. And my wife said when we left, she said, well, it was painful to be there. Painful to be there just like we expected. It was an edge. But being with Dawn, my cousin's wife, eclipsed everything. We met the Spirit in Dawn's eyes, Dawn's arms, Dawn's love. You meet Spirit there. You meet Spirit sometimes when you study. But you know what? There's just no replacement for meeting the Spirit of God out on the edge of nothing. That's why people meditate. They meditate so they can find the pearl inside them. They meditate so they can find what burns inside the sunset. They meditate so that they have the courage to be able to stand in this world and let the new world come forth. We touch Spirit in all these places. Now, I know that meditation is a tough sell for many of you. I really do. It's not part of our culture. It's not part of the way I was raised, certainly. I mean, some of my early friends, they think it's a little off base that I'm doing these things. But you know what I found? And it's not like I found spiritual enlightenment somewhere. I found that when I sit out at the edge of nothing, that slowly but surely the courage builds. The courage to sit on the edge. And so many have said that before me. That's why I keep on keeping on. After we talk a little bit, I'm going to ask a friend of mine, Jeff Belsey, to describe to you a little bit about the kind of meditation that he'd like to lead us through. Because I think this congregation needs an opportunity. Not the people that always show up on Wednesday night, but everybody just to find out what meditation is like. 3 hours discussion and meditation, and you will get the picture. You can be invited into something, or you can say, that's enough. But I hope you'll do it on October 12th. We'll have nice, comfortable chairs and everything. Because you need to meet Spirit somewhere if you're going to have the courage to stay vulnerable and be able to let the new emerge. Jesus says, follow me. Follow me and we'll find the pearl of great price. Follow me. You'll find what burns inside the sunset. Follow me, and you'll find a way to let that grief, that fear of what's next, be transformed into a hope of a new tomorrow. Amen.
What challenges, what obstacles to worship are there? I found in myself a long, long list of things that block me from deeper relationship with God, from a deeper capacity to love other people, from an ability to see clearly and to actually relate to reality as it is rather than as I wish it were or as I fear it might be. Meditation is and has been for me the strongest way to bridge that gap, to begin to see more clearly the way life actually works rather than how I wish it were. And if you haven't encountered how deep those wishes go, they go very deep. We have a lot of ideas about how it should be and how it is that contradict how it actually is. Sam's right, there actually are no experts in meditation, simply because every moment is always fresh and there's nothing in the bank that allows me or anyone else to have a leg up when it comes to actually sitting in meditation practice. The much harder flip side of there being no experts is that there are also no beginners. Everyone is in exactly the same boat from the moment we start sitting quietly until the moment we end. It is literally a moment-by-moment freshness, which is absolutely exciting and super challenging. But the point that I'm making here is that if sitting still for 20 minutes sounds like some horrible punishment to you, meditation actually is right on target. And it has to do with the question of obstacles that I was just speaking about. What is it that we fear, or what is it that we're hiding from in avoiding the potential for just sitting quietly for 20 minutes? If you look inside yourself, you'll find something. What is it that I'm afraid of? Am I afraid of actually seeing who I am? Forget reality as some external thing, but my own fears, my own flaws, and my own unwillingness to be seen, etc. Every one of us is different, and every one of us is the same. So again, the practice of meditation is one of the best, most direct ways to really encounter that and to allow it to flower, to allow ourselves to see clearly who we really are. Because what it is, beginning, middle, and end, is a practice of surrender. It's a direct experience of surrender, of letting go, and seeing what is, experiencing what is very directly. That's all I'll say about meditation as a quick introduction to it, except to say that it's a little bit like going to the gym. The first day you go to the gym, you feel pretty invigorated, but the real benefits of going to the gym don't come from your one day a year going to the gym. They come from actual engagement. So meditation is a practice that certainly we do in our little community. We've been doing this deep dive once a month for 3 hours, which is not 3 hours of sitting still, I promise. But it is really most effective when we do it in some form, a few minutes a day. It really doesn't have to be several hours a day. But doing just a little bit is enough to actually start to fertilize the soil of surrender, of letting go, of being able to see clearly. So, Sam asked me to just give you a brief taste, which is going to be fun, and also just a brief taste. So bear with me and play along just for a few minutes. I promise it'll be just 4 or 5 minutes of just sitting quietly. Let's just start by getting ourselves settled comfortably, feet in a comfortable, relaxed position on the floor, arms relaxed inside your lap, on your knees, doesn't matter. Just find yourself in an easy posture. You can close your eyes if you like, or if you choose to leave them open, soften them. Don't stare at me. You're welcome to look. Just look quietly at the ground in front of you. Our attention is not on vision, on looking. Our attention is simply on relaxing. And if you look at different parts of your body, you'll find, and there are different places for each of us, places where we're holding tension. It might be in your ankles, or your hips, or your belly, shoulders, your tongue, your jaw, maybe even your eyelids. Spend just a moment inside your own body, putting your attention on different parts where you think there might be some gripping, some tension. And just quietly invite that part of your body to relax totally. Now put your attention on the feeling of your breath inside your nostrils, inside the back of your throat, inside your belly or your chest, whatever is moving naturally. We're not trying to control our breath. Just put your attention on how it feels behind your nose, in your throat, wherever you notice it. Put that attention as intently as you can without bringing tension. So look carefully. Is there something inside in the feeling in the back of your throat or in the feeling as your belly moves up and down? Look closely. If there were a secret message hidden inside the feeling of your breath, would you be able to see it? Look really closely into how it feels. Slowly, gently allow your eyes to open. That wasn't so hard. So a brief note about the structure, about what we actually do. We do, in the deep dive, we do 3 30-minute sessions, and they're all guided. They're very easy. We have people come up to us every time we do this and say, I've never been able to sit for 30 minutes. But I promise you won't be the first person. It's actually not as hard as it sounds. We also have conversation beforehand and afterwards, so there's a lot of time to talk about what we're doing and why. So I encourage you, if you're available, it's a great opportunity, and it's fantastic that Sam is doing this. I look forward to doing it with you all.